He's been called the book banning pastor. You probably know all about him. He is a star in the 1916 Project. In fact, everyone tells me their favorite scene in the 1916 Project is my trip to Raleigh with Amanchukwu and Bishop Wooden. John Amanchukwu joins the show today to talk to me about his new film, 22 Words. What are those 22 words? Buckle up. It's an incredible story. But listen, this is how we're going to take back the culture and preserve this country and our families by protecting the children. Okay, from the radical indoctrination of these ideologue leftist Marxists that understand that the battle for the future is the battle over the minds of the current generation. Okay, it's been said that schools are kind of like a crystal globe. They tell you what your country will look like in 20 or 30 years. John Amanchukwu, Pastor Amanchukwu, is on the front lines of that fight. We're going to talk about that and so much more with my brother and good friend, Pastor John Amanchukwu. Welcome to the Seth Gruber Show.
Over 1 million children were killed in 2023 in America.
Children are always the unconsenting subjects of progressive social experiments.
What if the culture war was just a proxy war for the spiritual war? What if Satan masqueraded his demonic assault against the image of God as just a science and just a politics to keep the politically impotent pastors silent?
We live in the culture of death called, why is abortion demonic? Because Jesus came for you to have life. The devil came to steal and kill and destroy.
We won't do for good what the other side is so zealously willing to do for wickedness.
Join us at Life or Death Con on January 23rd in Washington, D.C. Head over to lifeordeathcon.com to get tickets today.
Guys, it's almost here. Okay, Life or Death Con, Washington, D.C., on January 23rd, the day before the March for Life, hosted at the Westin Downtown D.C. Hotel. Pastor Gary Hamrick, Eric Metaxas, Ali Bestucky, Dr. Nancy Piercy, Dr. George Grant, Pastor Landon Schott, Isabel Brown, Pro-Life Spider-Man, AJ Hurley, myself. You're not going to want to miss it. Go to lifeordeathcon.com, lifeordeathcon.com to get your tickets now. And remember, if you're an ally of the White Rose Resistance, a $35 a month donor or more, you get your tickets for free to this incredible, groundbreaking first annual conference to rebuild Christian resistance against the culture of death and get the church out of the pews and out into the front lines to finally bring about the abolition of abortion. Pastor John Amanchukwu, brother, the busiest man I know, welcome back, actually, to the Seth Gruber Show.
Thank you, Seth, so much for having me back on. Now, that means something. If I'm the busiest man that you know, then right back at you, because I don't see how you get everything done yourself. But you know what? God has graced you to do it all, and I just admire it.
Amen, brother. It has been so fun, John, to watch audience congregations react to you and Bishop Wooden in the 1916 Project. We've done almost 900 screenings since the middle of June. The day after the red carpet that we had you and your wife at, that kicked off our screening church tour. Since then, we've done about 900 church screenings. We're still doing dozens every week or two in 2025. And everyone just responds like, oh, the part in Raleigh, upper room. That was my favorite part of the film. But I want people who have fallen in love with the film, John, to know that you're not just like this warrior pastor who saves unborn babies. You're also fighting for the innocence of children and increasing standards in education and kicking the cultural Marxists in the testicles. And your tour around the country at school boards is just so epic. They go viral. People love it. And why do people love it so much? Why do they love and resonate with what you're doing, putting these school board members in their place who greenlight pornographic, obscene books in the school libraries or in the curriculum?
I don't know exactly, Seth, why they love it so much and why people respond in the manner that they do. But I do think that there is still a market for truth. You know, people aren't as far gone as we think they are.
Yeah.
Now, there's some people living under a delusion. Satan has blinded the eyes of some, but not all. There's still some people who are still redeemable, right? You know, they don't have a reprobate mind where their conscience has now been seared with a hot iron. By the grace of God, I've been able to travel now to 18 states, speaking up for children and fighting for our future. I've been to Virginia, North Carolina, New Jersey, Nevada, Florida, Texas, Colorado, California, Idaho, Pennsylvania, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Missouri, New Mexico, Tennessee, Maryland, and New York. Wow. And by the time it's all over, I'll say in the words of Johnny Cash that I've been everywhere and back. And listen to me, my friend. I have dealt with lying liberals and ratchet rhinos. All right?
That's good.
The pendulum swings to both directions. On the left, there are people who say, oh, no, these things aren't true. We're not putting pornographic books on bookshelves for kids to read. That's not happening. And then you have the ratchet rhinos who say, oh, I never knew that this was taking place. Oh, wow. Pastor John, if you would have just told us this was going on, you would have saved yourself a trip because we would have handled it ourselves. Wow. And so, you know, Scripture tells us in Revelations 21, verse 8, that there are 8 reasons why people will be thrown into the lake of fire. Number 1 is for being a coward. Full stop. Wow. You know, there's a lot of cowardiceness taking place today outside of the church, but especially in the Christian church. You know, I went to Texas to speak at a school board meeting there, and I delivered a message. And I talked about this book here called Push. It's by an author by the name of Ramona Lofton. The book glorifies incest. It talks about an incestuous relationship between a mother, a father, and their daughter. All right, both of the parents molested the child, and the father impregnated the daughter twice. Right, it's just it's sick. And at the end of my message, I knew that I was in Texas, and everything is big in Texas, especially egos, right? And so at the end of my message, I challenged the 6 men who were on the school board. I said, listen, if you don't remove this book right here, you're either a punk or a pervert. And something happened that had never happened to me before while traveling to the school boards. One of the school board members left the dais, came outside and confronted me. And told me to my face, listen, man, you can't call me out of my name. I'm neither a punk or a pervert. I don't appreciate that. I said, well, sir, I said, if you don't remove the book, you're either a punk or a pervert. So I put him between a rock and a hard place, right? I forced him to act, you know? And less than 24 hours later, this gentleman proved that he wasn't a punk, that he wasn't a pervert, but that he was a protector. That's the 3 Ps. Punks, perverts, and protectors. Which one do you want to be? And so his wife reached out to me on social media and said, you know, my husband didn't know anything about these books being on the bookshelves, but he did something about it. They removed over 26 books.
Wow.
And now that gentleman, Michael Booker is his name, he's in my documentary. We're best friends. I helped support him and cheered him on as he ran for his school board seat again, and he won victoriously. Wow. And so the movement marches on. You know, it's 2025, and I've been asked. Everyone's asking me, you know, Pastor John, are you going to continue going to school board meetings? You know, or is everything over? You know, I didn't get into this fight just for the 2024 election. All right, let me make that plain. There's some people who do certain things on election years, so that they can garner favor. Oftentimes they're grifting, right? So they can raise some money on that year and be good for the next 4 years. You know, because people spend a lot of money during election cycles.
But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor of the Seth Gruber Show, Every Life Diaper Company. Okay, I've been saying it from stages, telling you on here, because it's such an easy thing to do. If you already have to get diapers and wipes, do the small sacrifice of not spending your dollars with woke, anti-family companies that hate you and your values. And the shocking thing is almost every major diaper company in America, there's like at least 8 of them, that support abortion. Some of them paid for their employees, female employees, to go get abortions in blue states if they worked in a red state after the overturning of Roe. Some of them were posting pro-abortion morning posts about the overturning of Roe on social media. Okay? Don't give your money to people who say, yay, babies, take care of babies with our materials and celebrate killing them. Go to everylife.com to get your shampoo baby stuff, your wipes, your diapers, and you can do a subscription. You save a little money. But most importantly, make the decision and use promo code Seth10, Seth10 to get 10% off your first order. Okay? And let them know that we sent you and you support the White Rose Resistance and the Seth Gruber Show as well. Everylife.com. Okay? I know the CEO and founder. They're friends of mine and my wife's. We love them. They're a wonderful people. We use Everylife. Get your diapers, your wipes, your baby goods at everylife.com. Promo code Seth10, Seth10. And hey, tell the nursery at your church to get their diapers from Every Life as well. Thank you, Every Life, for being a sponsor of the Seth Gruber Show.
This started nearly 3 years ago when I was told that a young girl, Caucasian girl, didn't matter to me, 45 minutes from me in Chatham County, that she was being demonized for her Christian faith, right? Her teacher told her that believing in Jesus was tantamount to believing in a brick wall. And when I heard that, after working in youth ministry at the time for about, 15 to 18 years, I had to do something. I had to speak up, because no child should go to school and be told by their teacher that their faith, doesn't matter, and that what they believe in is tantamount to one believing in a brick wall. Now, if she was Muslim, all right. If she was worshiping Allah, if she was worshiping Buddha or any other faith, if she was possibly Jewish, that wouldn't have happened. But since she is a Christian, and since she's been trained up in the way that she should go, by Christian parents, her teacher thought it was necessary for her to bludgeon her and demonize her for her faith. So I drove 45 minutes. Spoke at that school board meeting, and didn't know that message would go viral. And now position me where, as I told you earlier, I've been to 18 states speaking out. We've been able to amass over 300 million views doing it. We've been able to flip a few school boards from left to right. We've been able to strike down a transgender policy 5756 in New Jersey. We've been able to remove dozens of pornographic books from bookshelves all around the country. We've been able to change laws as well. And so all of this stemmed from me just saying yes to an opportunity to go speak for 3 minutes. Just think about it. The majority of the school board meetings that I speak at, you get anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes. So sometimes I fly as far as California, from North Carolina to California. You're looking at close to, 2,800 miles just to go speak for 2 to 3 minutes. That takes some commitment, right? You have to believe that God is calling you to do that. And in the beginning, I didn't have a security detail. I didn't have the camera crew and the equipment and the support that I have today. From in the beginning, it was me just thugging it out and hoping that they recorded it on YouTube. And that someone in the camera and the audience maybe had a cell phone, and then I'll just get that footage and we'll put it out. Now I'm in a position where I have to travel with at least 2 to 3 security guys, because when I get to school boards, there are oftentimes 8 to 10 cops waiting for me now. Right. And so with that in mind, I see clearly that this year, I'm going to deal with a lot of what I dealt with last year, and that's law enforcement trying to shut me down and working in conjunction with the school board. And the moment that they see my name come across the system to sign up to speak, then it's, oh, crap, the book banning pastor is coming, and we have to shut him up and shut him down.
Yeah, it's good, John. I've watched your new film, 22 Words. I'm really excited for you to share about that, but it's incredible to see the hand of God on your life, on the calling that God's given you, your mantle, and just the authority with which you speak, which is why, I knew we had to have you in the 1916 Project, and now your fight, a lot of it is part of the same problems, right?
Yes.
Because, for example, Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of comprehensive sexuality education in America's public schools. Now, you're often dealing with pornographic books that are in the school library at the junior high or high school whose school district you're addressing. But it's all part of the same agenda. A lot of that obscene stuff is in Planned Parenthood's or CECAS's comprehensive sex ed that shows pornographic cartoons and how to do all things, quote unquote, sexual.
Yes.
And it's so clear what the agenda is. It's to destroy the innocence of children, to awake desire before it's time, and to encourage radical sexual libertinism. If it feels good, do it. No gods and no masters. And you design your own view of sexuality and morality. And we know what this is doing to the next generation. We know what this is doing to the family structure, to our culture as we know it today. Not even to get into the whole pornography addiction issue, which becomes a lot of these books and things, they become a feeder into digital pornography on the web. Yes. It's all so disgusting. And by the way, that's why, newsflash, Hugh Hefner provided the seed money to found CECAS, which was founded by Planned Parenthood's medical director. So the whole thing goes together. But you're at the front lines of that, and you just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger that, like, Turning Point USA was like, we have to make a film with John Amanchukwu about this. Yes. So tell us about your film, 22 Words, and maybe some of the ways that, how could people watch it? Tell us about the film and how God's been using that film for this mission of protecting kids.
Yes, if you want to see the documentary, you can go to 22wordsfilm.com. That's 22wordsfilm.com. The title of the documentary is 22 Words. Now, those 22 words come from the original school-sponsored prayer that was banned by the Supreme Court after the Engel v. Vitale court case in 1962. The prayer is simple. It's a non-denominational, non-proselytizing prayer. It says, Almighty God, we acknowledge our dependence upon thee, and we beg thy blessings upon us, our parents, our teachers, and our country. Wow. Now, what is so damaging about that, Seth? I mean, show me a part of that prayer, just 22 words, that says that, this is anti-America, it's anti-family, it's anti-love, anti-truth, whatever. There's nothing in that prayer that says that, but this is the prayer that ruffled the feathers of people like Madalyn Murray O'Hair and other wicked and demonic people who didn't want this kind of prayer to hit the ears of children every single day. Now, in the public school system today, a child can pray individually, but you can't have school-sponsored, school-led recitals of prayer now. And because of that Engel v. Vitale court case, the Supreme Court ruled 8-1 to strike it down. And because of this, we've seen a slippery slope in the American education system. We have gone from prayer to porn. From prayer to transgenderism. From prayer to bringing in Planned Parenthood to provide the sex ed curriculum. Now, with me fighting on this front, fighting books like this and Here's a book, it's called Flamer. You already know what that's about.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain that to you, right? Then you have another book. It's called It's Perfectly Normal, which this book is really perfectly perverted. You open the book, you see all kinds of sexual images. I'm going to spare you on that today. But when you consider where we are today in the education system, all of this can point back to what happened when they removed school-sponsored prayer from the public school system. And so in my documentary, I bring along people like Bill Federer and David Barton and Bernadette Broyles and Kirk Cameron and Bishop Patrick Lanewood and Sr. My wife is in it as well, and my children and others who come alongside me to tell the story of the history of why we are where we are today, but also to address some of the current issues that we're contending with as a result of this, like the gross negligence that's being pushed upon children, where they are met with this kind of content in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I call a false triune idol, because it mimics the Trinity. And so one of the things that that I'm seeing now, Seth, after releasing this documentary, is that more people want to gain a better understanding on what they can do, right? It's good to point out the problem. It's good, as some people call it, to curse the dark. We don't want to curse the darkness, all that stuff like that. But, we want to also give people a roadmap on what they can do. And so I've put together a program called Cyclone 400, where people can go and learn about how they can reclaim schools and communities, school board meeting after school board meeting, and state by state and city after city, how they can do that and what's necessary to get that done. And so you can go to my website and get that battle plan there and a free toolkit as well to learn how you can best do that. After traveling to 18 states, I have 3 takeaways. Number 1, perverts are perverting the hearts and the minds of our children. Number 2, parents are unaware. Children go to the public school system or any school system anywhere from 105,000 hours from K through 12. And so oftentimes, parents don't know what's going on and what's being taught. And so they're just become a part of a incubation system that's preparing them to be a perfect communist in the future that hates God but loves adultery, that loves promiscuity, that loves the abortion clinic, that loves sin, that loves porn, that loves everything that's going to be detrimental for their upward mobility. And finally, the last takeaway is, of the 3 things that I've learned, is that pastors have failed to speak up and address this issue. You'll be surprised at the number of speaking engagements that I have lost because I'm now going viral for reading from pornographic material. And there are some pastors who may, book me and then, get the phone call and say, something came up or something happened, or we can't be connected because of this or that. So I'm losing in some regard, because of this work, because they don't think that a Christian pastor should read the words that's in these books. And so I think every time that happens, that's just another star in my crown. It shows you how soft the Christian church has become. My intent is not to be vulgar when I read this stuff. My intent is to remind the snowflake board members who have a conniption every time I do it, that if children can read this, why can't you hear it in public?
Yeah. That's right. Yep. Yeah, that was one of your most viral clips, right, John? I remember when it went viral. If you don't want to hear it after they shut off your mic,
that's right.
Why should children be able to read it at the school library? I don't want to spoil things from the film because I certainly want people to go watch it. But I remember watching, even on social media, one of your visits, and you'll have to remind me of the city, John, because I don't remember. But in comes Pastor Amanchukwu, and suddenly there's a city-wide emergency. Can you tell us that story?
All right. So you're talking about Maryland, right? Baltimore, Maryland. And keep in mind, Baltimore, Maryland has a black governor, a black mayor in Baltimore. The school board is predominantly black. Law enforcement, predominantly black. The CEO of public schools, who makes $479,000 a year, right?
Wow.
She's black, but keep in mind, the kids can't read. They can't do basic math. I believe it was in 2022, out of 23 schools, no one showed proficiency in math at all in 23 schools.
Wow.
No one did. Right.
Crazy.
And so when you consider that, you would think that as many people as possible, especially black pastors, would be concerned about what's going on in Baltimore, whether you live there or not. Now, many of these school board meetings that I go to, I'll say this, Seth, so that everyone knows it. I'm asked to come by oftentimes board members, superintendents, and from parents, and grandparents. Right. People request me, right? And so I have more invitations than I do have days in a week or days in a month or even a year to get to all of these school board meetings. But so I walk into the school board meeting prepared to speak. I had to sign up the day before. And all of a sudden, once I walk in, I sit down and I'm wearing a shirt that says abortion is murder.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Listen, if you're gonna do it, go all in, right? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to send the message when I show up in here today. But from the onset, the board begins to scramble. I see law enforcement begin to walk in. They're peeking at me. They're watching me. Then the board chair stands up and says, you know what? We have to go into a brief recess before we get into public comments. And then the board chair comes out after the recess. And then then another officer comes in and they say, you know what, because we have a threat in the room, we're going to have to call a citywide emergency. So there will be no public comments today. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. I really can't. And so I'm taken aback because I'm not white. I'm black. I fit the general community of what's going on here at the school board and the city. Am I the wrong Negro? Why can't I speak? And it's because they can't allow the voice of a black Christian conservative to be platformed in Baltimore because it might awaken the other blacks that are there and point out the grave injustice that's taken place in Baltimore. Now, Baltimore receives more funding for failing these kids, right? Wow. The reason why they can pay the CEO of schools is because, the more failure, the more funding. It makes no sense. Wow. That's liberal math, right? More failure, more funding. You know what I mean? And so they had a meltdown, and then all of a sudden 8 police cars show up, cops come in. At one point, I was thinking that I was getting ready to get tased or even grabbed and slammed to the ground. There's some footage that we haven't released yet, and we'll slowly but surely put it all out. But even one of the cops said, you know what, shut the door. And at the time I had 3 security guys with me. They put them out of the room and shut the door. And then one said, cover the door so they can't see in and see what's going on. And so we had a conversation with them in the room in private, and I didn't hold back. You know what I mean? I wasn't armed with any weapons other than this weapon, right? That's the only thing that I was packing that day. But they didn't want to hear what I had to say because I declare an alternative viewpoint. I'm not speaking alongside their status quo. And so therefore they have to protect their jobs, protect the CEO of schools. And so therefore they wouldn't allow me to speak, And so consider what happened in, Temecula, California, when I went there and spoke at that school board meeting. I delivered a message entitled 10 Things That Black Students Don't Need in Education. I said that we don't need the soft bigotry of low expectations. I said that we don't need white liberals telling us that they know what's best for us, that we know what's best for ourselves. I said that we don't need critical race theory. I said that we don't need to redefine proficiency. That's where you dumb down the test scores in the name of equity so that everyone comes out, with a trophy at the end and everyone gets an A, And so I said that we don't need that. And man, 2 weeks later, an article was printed where someone said that I was a white supremacist. And so, Seth, man, I guess I'm the blackest white supremacist with a long African last name that you'll ever meet in your life. And people were saying, oh, he has to be married to a white woman. Because only a black man married to a white woman would say these things, but I'm married to a black woman with braids, right? And so, no, she doesn't have blonde hair or brown hair. I'm married to a black woman with jet black hair. And so, but it's rather condescending, Seth, that these labels have to be applied to me, and I'm sure you get your fair share of labels as well. It's par for the course, but we use it as fodder to continue to fight. But it's a travesty that I now have to be labeled as a white man or a white supremacist and have a white wife because I don't want children to go to school and to learn about transgenderism. And I don't want children to go to school and to learn about how to properly insert a butt plug into their rear end, which is what some of these books are teaching our children.
Yep.
There's a book entitled The LGBTQ Guide for Teens. And this book talks about the proper way of sanitizing dildos. It tells the child to put it in a dishwasher. All right?
Wow.
And it tells them, be sure to let the dildo cool down because you don't want to insert, I guess, a dildo that's been in a hot dishwasher for too long. That might steam, right? And just the asinine mentality of these individuals. And then they either label you as a white supremacist, or a hate monger or a bigot, or they just label me as the book banning pastor, right? Saying that I'm going from state to state, bludgeoning people, and I'm a book banner. And no, I'm not a book banner, but I do remember in Scripture who the real individuals were who took their books and they burned their books. They call us book banners and book burners. It's in the book of Acts where we see that those who practice curious arts and divination, they took their books and they burned them, right? And then they came to Christ asking what must they do to get saved. And so, no, I'm not a book banner or a book burner. I don't have any secret books or any of any nature, but we're just fighting against the insanity of the culture. And so this documentary points out all of these things. It shows my behind the scenes engagements that I've had as a result of traveling from state to state. One thing that I do want to leave with you before we wrap up is that former Secretary of Education William Bennett in his Cultural Index has pointed out that from 1960 to 1990, as a result of school-sponsored prayer being banned, that divorce doubled, teenage pregnancy went up 200%, teen suicide increased by 300%, and violent crime went up 500%. In the words of my mentor, Bishop Patrick Lane Wooden Sr., wherever God is cursed, wherever God is barred, that place is cursed. Wow. Right? And so there's a curse upon the American education system because we banned God. Wow. And yes, I fight against the foreplay of Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
Right? This stuff is foreplay.
Yep.
This is they're teaching them the Kama Sutra of sex in the school system by putting the porn on the bookshelves. Yep. The child reads it, they ingest it, and then they end up at a Planned Parenthood or a local abortion clinic.
Yep.
And so, yes, it's the same issue. We're fighting it on both ends. And I'm just blessed to be able to have this.
You could call it the Kama Sutra of Moloch. That's
I like
that's
that.
what it is.
Yeah.
You can use that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it all goes together, and it always has to do with kids, right?
Yes.
Every time, John, the enemy of our souls always focuses on destroying the young, corrupting the innocent minds. And so we're so grateful for you, brother. You know that I would do anything for you and your calling and your ministry. And I want people listening to go to 22wordsfilm.com, 22wordsfilm.com. And like my film, look at this, John, you can host a screening, guys, okay? You can host a screening of 22 Words, or you can order, it looks like you can purchase a digital copy. And then again, Pastor John, tell us how people can get equipped through iknowgod.us and what you're doing so that they can be impactful in their community in standing like you have been, but where God has placed them.
Yes, you can go to iknowgod.us to receive a copy of my battle plan. And this battle plan will teach you and train you on how to reclaim schools and communities. In the toolkit that you will receive for free as well, it teaches you even how to coalesce and build a network if you want to run for school board or create a cyclone movement in your area. It also will teach you and train you on how to spot when gender theory and queer theory and critical race theory is being taught. It also gives you a numbering system on how to best gauge how to cut the head off of the ringleader on the board, right? And how to vote that person out. You know, I want to do more than just go to school boards and speak and messages go viral. No, we want to clean up the mess after we leave and we expose what's going on. And so you can find this content at iknowgod.us.
That's good. That's awesome, bro. Well, guys, go listen. If you hosted a screening of the 1916 Project, host a screening of 22 Words Film. It is graphic because of the nature of what's discussed. So it's probably, PG-13, high school maybe level or junior high, depending on how involved you get in these conversations with your kids. But it's an incredible, incredible film. And then, Pastor John, you've got a new book out, Hoodwinked. Why don't you tell people about that before we let you go?
Yes, I have a book out. It's called Hoodwinked. You know, that's a term that Malcolm X made popular. You know, he said we've been bamboozled, we've been hoodwinked. You know, and to be hoodwinked means that you are beyond blindfolded. It's to the point that you can't see any light. And so this book deals with many of the lies that are being pushed upon people today that leaves them blinded and in darkness, you know. And so I say to everyone, go get a copy of this book, Hoodwinked. I don't plan on releasing a book this year, Seth. We did two last year. One is a kid's book as well. And so this year I'm going to focus on traveling to the school board meetings and putting out content and supporting the work that is being done. I look forward also to working alongside you with the 1916 Project and having that screen at the Upper Room Church of God in Christ, and with all of the many conferences that you're putting on. Let me say this to your audience. I call Seth Gruber the Michael Jordan of the pro-life movement. All right. There's always a debate on who's better. Is it Michael Jordan? Is it Kobe? Is it LeBron? Everyone knows who the greatest is. And so Seth Gruber has been on the forefront of the pro-life movement for many years, all right? And God has blessed him. He's worked with all of the big, voices, I'll say it that way, in organizations in the pro-life space. But God has etched out a special place for him on the wall, and he brings something to the table that many people don't. That's why I enjoy working alongside you, working with you. I'll stand with you anywhere, all right? And I look forward to the many things that are to come in this coming year.
Amen. Likewise, brother. Yeah. That's very kind of you. A rising tide lifts all boats. And it's about time we start enraging the society together. And that's why I'm grateful for the prophet voice that God has given you. Guys, 22wordsfilm.com. Pastor John, I want to tell you one thing afterwards. Stick around. Guys, go to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Give the show a rating and review. Let us know what you think. It helps. It really helps. And then go to Rumble in case YouTube ever just, digitally assassinates me. Help the show out on Rumble. We're also streaming the show now on Real Life Network, all right, which is Pastor Jack's streaming platform, and you can get that on iTunes or on Roku or wherever you get your apps. Make sure you do host a screening of the 1916 Project and 22 Words Film at your church. You can go to the1916project.com and pick up a copy of my book, The 1916 Project, The Lying, the Witch, and the War We're In. And we are almost at Life or Death Con, okay? So go to lifeordeathcon.com and pick up your tickets to join us in Washington, D.C. the day before the March for Life this month on January 23rd. And if you're an ally of the White Rose Resistance at $35 a month or more, you get a free ticket to all of our events. And we have coming out soon our book club conversation with Megan Basham for her book Shepherds for Sale in our Books in the Barracks book club, which is just for air support, $70 a month donors or more. So if you want to join our book club, read books with me and other donors and talk about it together, go to thewhiterose.life and join at $70 a month. You guys are helping us build a movement to put ourselves out of a job by reawakening the blood-bought bride of Christ in America to reclaim her spiritual heritage of Christian resistance. So we'll see you guys in DC. Until next week, I'm Seth Gruber, and this is The Seth Gruber Show.